My brother accused me of something awful to a girl at a party, and when I begged him to tell the truth, he punched me until I bled while my parents watched. When I asked my mom why she let him do it, she looked away and said, "You shouldn't have shown your face here." I stayed silent. That was 8 years ago. This morning, he was curled up in a jail cell, screaming my name between cries. My brother accused me of something awful 8 years ago. Now the truth is finally out. I spent the next few months applying for jobs everywhere I could. My savings were dwindling fast, and the rent on my apartment was eating through what little I had left. Every interview ended the same way. They'd Google my name, find the social media posts my brother had spread, and suddenly the position would be filled. I started using recruitment agencies, hoping they could help, but even they struggled to place someone with my reputation. By March 2016, I had to move out of my apartment. I found a small studio on the outskirts of town, in a building where nobody asked questions, and the landlord only cared about getting paid on time. I took whatever cash jobs I could find, warehouse work, night shifts at gas stations, anything that didn't require a background check. The work was hard and the pay was terrible, but it kept a roof over my head. During one of my night shifts at a 24-hour convenience store, I ran into Johnny, an old colleague from my previous job. He walked in around 2 a.m., did a double take when he saw me behind the counter, and quickly looked away. I rang up his energy drink without saying a word. As he was leaving, he paused at the door and turned back. "I know you didn't do it," he said quietly. "The whole thing never made sense. You were at the office until 8 p.m. that night working on the Morrison account. The party started at 7. I gripped the counter, my knuckles turning white. Then why didn't you say anything?" He shrugged helplessly. "Who would have listened? Your brother had those screenshots. Your own family believed it." He left without another word, leaving me alone with the fluorescent lights humming overhead. The months turned into years. I changed jobs frequently, always staying one step ahead of my past catching up. I moved cities twice, each time starting over with nothing but a duffel bag, and the hope that maybe this time would be different. I learned to live with the loneliness, to accept that birthdays and holidays would pass unnoticed, that my daughters were growing up without me. In 2018, I was working at a small logistics company when I got my first stable break. The owner, Nathan, was an ex-convict himself who believed in second chances. He never asked about my past, only cared that I showed up on time and did the work. I threw myself into the job, working overtime whenever possible, saving every penny I could. I thought about Alice and Sarah constantly. Alice would be 7 now, probably in 2nd grade. Sarah would be 5, starting kindergarten. I wondered if they remembered me at all, or if I had become just a cautionary tale their mother told them about trusting the wrong people. On their birthdays, I'd buy small gifts and keep them in a box under my bed, hoping that someday I might get the chance to give them. The isolation was the hardest part. I had no friends, no family, no one to talk to except my coworkers about work-related matters. I ate alone, lived alone, existed alone. Some nights I'd wake up from dreams where everything was normal again, where Jenny was beside me and the girls were calling for breakfast, only to face the stark reality of my empty room. I started seeing a therapist in 2019, paying cash to avoid insurance records. Dr. McAlexandra was a kind woman who listened without judgment as I told my story. She helped me work through the anger and betrayal, taught me coping mechanisms for the panic attacks that would hit whenever I saw a police car or heard someone mention assault cases on the news. "You're not defined by what others believe about you," she told me during one session. "You know your truth. That has to be enough for now." But it wasn't enough. Not when I'd see families at the park and remember pushing Alice on the swings. Not when I'd pass by toy stores and think about Sarah's favorite stuffed elephant. Not when every relationship I tried to build crumbled the moment they searched my name online. I tried dating once, in 2020. Her name was Joni, a nurse at the clinic where I'd gone for a work injury. She was kind and didn't seem to mind that I was vague about my past. We went on 3 dates before she found the old WhatsApp screenshots someone had reposted on a community forum. She sent me a text saying she couldn't see me anymore, that she had to think about her safety. I didn't blame her. I would have done the same. By 2021, I had saved enough to start my own small delivery business. Just me, a used van, and contracts with local businesses who needed reliable freight services. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I named it Fresh Start Logistics, which felt both hopeful and ironic. The work kept me busy, driving long hours, making deliveries, building a reputation for reliability one package at a time. I still checked social media sometimes, using fake accounts to see glimpses of my old life. Jenny had remarried in 2019 to someone named Jonathan. The wedding photos showed my daughters as flower girls, smiling in pink dresses. Henry was there too, standing with the groomsmen, playing the role of supportive brother-in-law. My parents looked older but happy, posing with their new son-in-law like he'd always been part of the family. The hardest photo to see was from Alice's 10th birthday party in 2021. She was blowing out candles on a princess cake, surrounded by family and friends. In the background, barely visible, was a wall of family photos. I zoomed in until I could see that every picture that once included me had been removed or replaced. It was like I had never existed at all. Sometimes I wondered what Amanda had gotten out of destroying my life. We'd barely interacted at that party. I remembered saying hello when I arrived and goodbye when I left early to get home to my family. Whatever Henry had offered her or threatened her with must have been significant. I'd given up trying to understand why she'd done it. The damage was done, and knowing wouldn't change anything. In late 2022, I moved again, this time to a coastal city where the salt air felt like a fresh start. My business was doing well enough that I could afford a small house near the water. It needed work, but I had nothing but time. I spent weekends fixing it up, learning plumbing and carpentry from YouTube videos, finding peace in the simple act of building something with my own hands. I joined a support group for people who'd been falsely accused of crimes. We met weekly in a church basement, sharing our stories and strategies for rebuilding. Some had been luckier than me, cleared by evidence before losing everything. Others had spent years in prison before being exonerated. We were all broken in different ways, all trying to find meaning in lives derailed by lies. "The truth always comes out eventually," one member, Jonah, used to say. She'd been accused of embezzlement by a vindictive ex-boss and spent 3 years fighting to clear her name. Sometimes it takes longer than we'd like, but lies can't stand forever. I wanted to believe her, but after 7 years, hope felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. I had built a new life from the ashes of the old one, smaller and lonelier but stable. I had my business, my house, my hard-won peace of mind. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was the one I had. As 2023 began, I was preparing tax documents for my business when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Too many spam calls these days, but something made me pick up. "Hello?" I said, expecting a robocall about my car's extended warranty. "Is this?" The female voice paused, shaky and uncertain. "Is this Michael?" I hadn't heard anyone use my real name in years. In my new life, I went by my middle name. "Who is this?" I asked carefully. "It's Amanda," the voice said, and my blood ran cold. "Amanda from before. I need to talk to you. It's important." I hung up immediately, my hands shaking. My therapist had taught me breathing exercises for moments like this. In through the nose, hold for 4, out through the mouth. But my chest felt tight. The walls of my my small office closing in. After all these years, why was she calling now? The phone rang again. Same number. I let it go to voicemail, but she didn't leave a message. Then came a text. Please, I'm dying. I need to tell you the truth before it's too late. I stared at those words for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete the message, block the number, pretend this wasn't happening. I'd built my new life by never looking back, by accepting that the truth didn't matter if no one believed it. But another part, the part that still woke up some nights reliving that day in July 2015, needed to know why she'd done it. I called her back 20 minutes later, using a burner phone I'd bought for business emergencies. My hands were steady now, but my mind raced through every possible trap this could be. Michael? Amanda's voice was weaker than I remembered, raspy like she'd been crying or worse. Talk, I said simply. Can we meet? I'm at St. Mary's Hospital Oncology Ward, room 412. The request hit me like ice water. A hospital meant witnesses, security cameras, a paper trail. After everything she wanted to meet in person, my instinct screamed danger, but something in her voice made me pause. Why should I trust you? I asked. You shouldn't, she said, and I heard her take a shaky breath. But I have pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The doctors say I have weeks, maybe a month. I need to make this right before I go. I ended the call without responding. For the next hour, I paced my small office, weighing the risks. Meeting her could be another trap, another way for Henry to destroy what little I'd rebuilt. But if she really was dying, if there was even a chance she'd tell the truth. I drove to St. Mary's that afternoon, parking 3 blocks away and walking the rest. The hospital's antiseptic smell brought back memories of Alice's birth, of holding her for the first time while Jenny smiled exhaustedly from the bed. I pushed those thoughts away and focused on each step toward the oncology ward. Amanda looked nothing like the woman from 8 years ago. Her once full face was gaunt, her skin had a yellowish tinge, and machines surrounded her bed like electronic sentinels. When she saw me, tears immediately started flowing. You came, she whispered. I stayed near the door, ready to leave at any moment. You have 5 minutes. She nodded weakly and reached for a manila folder on her bedside table. Her hands shook as she held it out to me. Everything's in there. Bank statements, text messages, recordings, everything that proves what Henry did. I didn't move to take it. Tell me first. All of it. Amanda closed her eyes, and when she opened them, the words poured out like a dam breaking. Henry had approached her in early 2015, knowing she was drowning in gambling debts. Her addiction had cost her everything. Her job, her savings, her family's trust. She owed dangerous people $40,000 and was desperate. He offered me $50,000, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Cash. All I had to do was claim you assaulted me at that party. He had it all planned out. The fake text messages. What to say. When to say it. He even knew you'd left the party early, so he adjusted the timeline to make it work. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to remain standing. Why did he want to destroy me? He was obsessed with Jenny. Had been since you introduced them. Yeah. He thought if you were out of the picture, she'd eventually turn to him for comfort. He talked about it like it was destiny, like she was meant to be with him all along. The room spun slightly. 8 years of suffering, of isolation, of missing my daughters grow up, all because my brother couldn't accept that Jenny chose me. He coached me for weeks, Amanda continued, made me practice my story until it was perfect. He knew exactly what would trigger your family's anger, what would make Jenny doubt you. He'd studied all of you like specimens. I finally stepped forward and took the folder. Inside were bank deposit slips showing $50,000 deposited in small increments to avoid suspicion. There were screenshots of text conversations between Henry and Amanda, planning every detail. Most damning was a recording app transcript, where Henry walked her through the fake assault story, correcting details to make it more believable. Why didn't you come forward sooner? I asked, though I already knew the answer. He threatened me, said if I ever told anyone, he'd make sure those people I owed money to would find me. For years, I was more afraid of them than my conscience. But when the cancer diagnosis came, she started crying again. I realized I was going to die with this on my soul. I couldn't face that. I spent the next hour going through every document, every piece of evidence. It was meticulous, thorough, exactly what I'd need to prove my innocence. But as I sat there, watching this dying woman sob over her choices, I felt no satisfaction, only a hollow ache for the years I'd never get back. There's more, Amanda said when she'd composed herself. Henry's been stealing from your parents' hardware store. He's been skimming cash sales for years, cooking the books. I helped him set up the accounting system to hide it. That evidence is in there too. I looked at the bank statements showing regular deposits far exceeding what a small hardware store manager should make. My parents had given him everything, and he'd stolen from them too. I've already sent copies to a lawyer, Amanda continued. If something happens to me before I can make this right publicly, he'll release everything. I'm going to record a video confession tomorrow. Get it notarized. I want to call your parents, Jenny, everyone, and tell them the truth. I stood up, the folder heavy in my hands. It won't bring back 8 years. It won't undo what you did. I know, she said, but maybe it'll give you something back. Maybe your daughters. Don't, I cut her off. You don't get to talk about my daughters. I left the hospital with my mind reeling. Back in my truck, I spread the evidence across the passenger seat, studying each piece. It was real. After 8 years, I finally had proof of my innocence. But what now? Part of me wanted to drive straight to my parents' house, throw the evidence in their faces, demand the apology I deserved. Another part wanted to disappear deeper, change my name completely, let them all live with their choices. I drove home slowly, taking the coastal route. The ocean stretched endlessly beside me, indifferent to human suffering. I'd found peace in that indifference over the years, in the way waves crashed regardless of my pain. That evening, I called Nathan and asked for a few days off. He agreed without question, one of the reasons I valued working for him. I spent those days planning, thinking through every angle. Amanda had given me a weapon, but I needed to use it carefully. On the third day, my phone rang. Unknown number again. Mr. Thompson? An official voice. This is Dr. Martinez from St. Mary's Hospital. I'm calling about Amanda Richardson. She listed you as someone to notify. I'm sorry to inform you that she passed away this morning. The news hit me harder than expected. Despite everything, she tried to make it right in the end. Was she able to record anything? She completed a video statement yesterday with our legal department present. Her lawyer, Mr. Garrett, has the original and instructions for its distribution. She was quite insistent about that. After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen, staring at the evidence spread before me. Amanda was gone, but her confession lived on. The truth was finally out there, waiting to explode like a bomb in the lives of those who'd wronged me. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is James Garrett, Amanda Richardson's attorney. She instructed me to contact you upon her passing. I have video testimony and additional evidence that corroborates your innocence. When can we meet? I met Garrett the next morning at his office. He was younger than I'd expected, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. The video was devastating to watch. Amanda, propped up in her hospital bed, detailed everything with clinical precision. She named Henry as the mastermind, explained the payment structure, admitted to creating the fake messages. She broke down several times but always continued. She wanted this distributed to your family, your ex-wife, and anyone else affected by her false accusations, Garrett explained. She also left instructions for a public statement to be released to clear your name. When? I asked. That's up to you. She wanted you to have control over how this comes out. I thought about it for a long moment. Not yet. I need to do something first. That afternoon, I drove to the city where my old life had ended. The familiar streets felt foreign now, like a movie set of someone else's memories. I parked outside the hardware store my parents had bought for Henry, watching through the window as he rang up customers with the same charming smile that had fooled everyone. He looked older, heavier, with thinning hair and deep lines around his eyes. Success hadn't been kind to him, or maybe the weight of his crimes had finally started to show. I watched him pocket cash from a sale without ringing it up, just as Amanda had described. As closing time approached, I waited in the alley behind the store. Henry emerged, whistling tunelessly as he locked up. He didn't see me until I stepped out of the shadows. Hello, Henry. He froze, keys jangling in his suddenly shaky hands. What? What are you doing here? You can't be here. I'll call the police. Go ahead, I said calmly. I'm sure they'd love to hear what I have to say. His face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. You need to leave. Now, Amanda's dead, I said, watching his expression carefully. Cancer. But before she died, she left me something interesting. Henry's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing naked fear before he forced it back into place. I don't know any Amanda. Sure you do. You paid her $50,000 to destroy my life. She kept very detailed records. He lunged at me then, the same rage that had bloodied my face 8 years ago, but I wasn't the same broken man anymore. I sidestepped his charge, letting his momentum carry him into the brick wall. He stumbled back, clutching his shoulder. It's over, Henry, I said. Amanda confessed everything. The money, the plan, all of it. She even threw in evidence of your embezzlement as a bonus. You're lying, he snarled, but sweat beaded on his forehead. Am I? Check your phone. I'm betting Mom's already called a dozen times. As if on cue, his phone started buzzing. He pulled it out with trembling fingers, seeing our mother's contact photo, then our father, then Jenny. The calls kept coming. What did you do? He whispered. I gave them the truth. Garrett sent the video an hour ago, along with all the evidence. Right about now, they're learning what kind of man you really are. Henry's legs gave out. He slumped against the wall, phone still buzzing incessantly. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Jenny was supposed to be mine. I loved her first. I saw her first. She was never yours, I said. She was my wife, the mother of my children, and you destroyed all of that because you couldn't accept rejection. They won't believe it, he said desperately. I'm their son, their good son. They'll think you faked it somehow. Maybe, but Amanda's lawyer has security footage of her making the confession. Medical records proving her terminal diagnosis. Bank records with your withdrawals matching her deposits. You were thorough, Henry, but so was she. His phone rang again. This time he answered, and I could hear our mother's hysterical voice even from where I stood. He tried to speak, to explain, but she wasn't listening. 8 years ago, they hadn't given me a chance to defend myself. Now he was getting the same treatment. I turned to leave, but Henry grabbed my arm. Wait, please, you have to help me. Tell them it's not true. I'm your brother. I looked at his hand on my arm, then at his face. I haven't had a brother since July 25th, 2015. I shook him off and walked away, his pleas echoing behind me. My phone was buzzing now too, but I ignored it. There would be time for those conversations later. Right now, I needed to process the fact that after 8 years, the truth was finally out. I drove to the hotel I'd booked, a modest place on the outskirts of town. The room was clean and quiet, perfect for what I knew was coming. Sure enough, within an hour, there was a knock at my door. Jenny stood in the hallway, looking older, but still beautiful. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying, and she clutched her purse like a lifeline. Behind her, I could see Jonathan hovering protectively. Can we talk? She asked, her voice small. I stepped aside to let them in. Jonathan looked uncomfortable, clearly not wanting to be there, but unwilling to leave his wife alone with her allegedly dangerous ex-husband. Old habits die hard. I'm sorry, Jenny started, but I held up a hand. Don't, not yet. I need you to understand something first. For 8 years, I've lived as a pariah. I lost my career, my family, my children. I've been spit on, threatened, struck. I've applied to hundreds of jobs only to be rejected when they Googled my name. I've moved cities to escape my reputation. I've spent thousands on therapy just to function. So before you apologize, I need you to understand the weight of what you're apologizing for. She broke down completely then, sobbing so hard that Jonathan had to support her to a chair. I should have believed you. You were my husband, the father of my children, and I threw you away. Yes, I said simply. You did. The girls, she managed between sobs. They've been asking about you. Alice especially. She remembers you, remembers how you used to read to her every night. I told them. God, I told them you were dangerous. The pain of that hit me like a physical blow, but I kept my face neutral. I'd learned to hide my emotions over the years, to present a calm exterior no matter what I felt inside. What do you want, Jenny? I asked. I want to fix this. I want to make it right. The girls deserve to know their father. You deserve to be in their lives. And what about him? I gestured to Jonathan, who shifted uncomfortably. He understands, Jenny said quickly. He's a good man. He'll support whatever relationship you want with the girls. I studied them both for a long moment. Jonathan seemed sincere, if uncomfortable. He'd married a woman with 2 children and a tragic backstory about their dangerous father. Now he was learning it was all a lie. I need time, I said finally. This isn't something that can be fixed with a conversation. 8 years, Jenny. 8 years of their lives I've missed. 8 years of birthdays, Christmases, first days of school. You can't just apologize that away. I know, she whispered, but please, let me try. Let us try. After they left, I sat on the hotel bed, staring at the wall. My phone had dozens of missed calls and messages. My parents, cousins, old friends who'd shunned me. Everyone wanted to talk now that I was proven innocent. The next morning, I met with Garrett again. He'd been fielding calls all night from media outlets who'd picked up the story. A prominent false accusation case with family betrayal and a deathbed confession. It was catnip for the news cycle. I can handle the media if you want to stay private, he offered. Amanda left funds to cover my services in perpetuity. Guilt money, I thought, but I just nodded. Keep them away for now. I'm not ready for that circus. My parents were waiting in the hotel lobby when I returned. They looked older, frailer, diminished somehow. My mother started crying the moment she saw me, reaching out as if to embrace me. I stepped back. Michael, my father said, his voice rough. Son, we're so sorry. We should have believed you. We should have investigated. We failed you. Yes, I agreed. You did. That's it? My mother's voice cracked. After everything, that's all you have to say? What would you like me to say? That it's okay? That I forgive you? That we can go back to being a happy family? I shook my head. You didn't just not believe me. You threw me away. You disowned me. You let Henry hit me bloody while you watched. You chose him, like you always did. We know, my father said quietly. We know we can't undo it, but please, let us try to make amends. You're our son. I haven't been your son for 8 years. You made that very clear with the legal documents. I left them in the lobby, their pleas following me to the elevator. Part of me wanted to forgive them, to fall into my mother's arms and pretend the last 8 years hadn't happened, but I couldn't. The man who would have done that died on July 25th, 2015. Over the next few days, the story exploded. Despite Garrett's efforts, someone leaked the details to the press. Falsely accused man vindicated after 8 years ran in the local paper. Social media picked it up, and suddenly my name was trending for very different reasons. Henry was arrested for embezzlement. The evidence Amanda had provided was comprehensive, showing years of systematic theft. My parents' hardware store, already struggling, couldn't survive the scandal and financial loss. They were forced to sell, losing their retirement investment. Old friends reached out with apologies and explanations. They'd been shocked, they said. The evidence had seemed so convincing. They'd had to protect their own families. I understood, but I didn't absolve. They'd made their choices. The hardest meeting was with Alice and Sarah. Jenny arranged it at a neutral location, a park where I used to take Alice when she was little. She didn't remember it, of course. She was 12 now, all legs and preteen attitude, looking so much like her mother it hurt. Sarah, 10, hung back shyly, clearly unsure about meeting the father she'd been taught to fear. Hi, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. Hi, Alice replied, studying me with Jenny's eyes. Mom says she was wrong about you, that Uncle Henry lied. Yes, I said simply. He did. Why? Sarah asked, speaking for the first time. How do you explain obsession and betrayal to a 10-year-old? Sometimes people do bad things for selfish reasons. Your uncle wanted something that wasn't his, and he hurt me to try to get it. We talked for an hour, awkward and stilted. They asked about my life, and I told them sanitized versions of the truth. I showed them pictures of my house by the ocean, my delivery truck, the wooden toys I'd carved while thinking of them. Alice seemed interested despite herself, while Sarah slowly warmed up. When it was time to leave, Alice surprised me by asking, "Can we see you again?" "If you want to," I said, hope and fear warring in my chest. "I think I'd like that," she said. "I have questions. About before, about you." As I watched them leave with Jenny and Jonathan, I felt something I hadn't experienced in 8 years. Possibility. Not for recovering what was lost, but for building something new. The legal proceedings against Henry moved forward. He was facing serious jail time for the embezzlement, and there was talk of pursuing charges related to the false accusation conspiracy. I declined to pursue the latter. Amanda was dead, and I had no interest in spending years in court reliving my trauma. My business back home was thriving in my absence. Nathan had stepped up to cover my roots, and my regular clients were understanding about the situation. Some had even reached out with messages of support, having followed the news coverage. After 2 weeks in my old city, I was ready to go home. But first, there was one more conversation I needed to have. Henry was being held in county jail pending bail. He looked terrible, orange jumpsuit hanging off his frame, face gaunt, eyes hollow. When he saw me through the visitation glass, something flickered in his expression. Hope? Fear? I couldn't tell. "Why?" I asked without preamble. He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, in a voice I barely recognized, he said, "I loved her first. The moment you introduced her, I knew she was meant to be mine. But she only saw you. So you destroyed my life? I thought if you were gone, she'd need comfort, support. I'd be there, the good brother-in-law, helping with the kids. Eventually, she'd see what she missed the first time. But she remarried someone else entirely." His face twisted. "That wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to wait, to grieve, to need me." I studied my brother, this stranger wearing a familiar face. "You destroyed our entire family for a fantasy." "I know," he whispered. "I know that now. Prison gives you time to think, to see clearly. I'm sorry, Michael. I'm so fucking sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 8 years. Sorry doesn't undo what you did to our parents, to Jenny, to my daughters, to me." "I know," he repeated, "but it's all I have." I stood to leave, but his voice stopped me. "Michael, can you forgive me? Not now, but someday?" I thought about lying, about giving him that comfort, but I'd lived with lies long enough. "No, Henry, I can't. Some things are unforgivable." I left him there, slumped in his chair, finally facing the consequences of his choices. Outside the jail, I breathed deeply, feeling lighter somehow. Not healed, that would take years more work, but unburdened. The drive back to my coastal town took 2 days. I stopped at roadside motels, ate at small diners, took my time processing everything that had happened. By the time I saw the ocean again, I'd made some decisions. I would maintain a relationship with my daughters, but on my terms. Scheduled visits, family therapy, slow rebuilding of trust. They deserved to know their father, but I deserved to protect myself too. I would keep my parents at arm's length. They'd shown me who they were when it mattered most. The fact that they were sorry now didn't erase their betrayal. Maybe someday I could forgive them, but that day wasn't today. I would continue building my business, my life, my future. The truth being revealed didn't mean I had to go backward. I'd created something good from the ashes of my old life. That was worth preserving. Most importantly, I would continue therapy. Dr. McAlexandra had been right. I wasn't defined by what others believed about me, but I was shaped by it, scarred by it, and those wounds needed tending. As I pulled into my driveway, I saw my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, watering her garden. She waved, calling out, "Welcome home. I saw the news. Good for you." It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. This was my community now, the people who knew me as I was, not as I'd been. They'd accepted me without knowing my past, and they celebrated my vindication without needing the details. That night, I sat on my porch, watching the sun set over the water. My phone buzzed with messages, Jenny sending pictures of the girls, my parents asking if I'd made it home safely, reporters still trying to get an exclusive. I silenced it all. Tomorrow, I'd start the long process of integrating my old life with my new one. Tomorrow, I'd figure out how to be a father again, how to navigate family relationships poisoned by betrayal and lies. Tomorrow, I'd decide whether to pursue legal action against Henry beyond the criminal charges. But tonight, I just sat and breathed, letting the sound of waves wash over me. For 8 years, I'd lived with the weight of false accusations, the burden of being branded a monster. That weight was gone now, replaced by something more complex. The challenge of rebuilding, of deciding what parts of my old life deserved resurrection, and what parts should stay buried. The truth had finally come out, but it hadn't set me free. Freedom, I'd learned, was something you built for yourself, one day at a time, one choice at a time. And for the first time in 8 years, I had the power to choose my own path forward. I packed my things from the hotel room, checking out early the next morning. The drive back started at dawn, but I'd barely made it to the highway when my phone rang. Nathan's number. Got a situation here, he said without preamble. 3 of our biggest contracts are threatening to pull out. Someone's been calling them, telling them about your past. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Henry's in jail. Well, someone's doing his work for him. Patterson Construction says they can't risk the liability. Morrison Foods is wavering. Even the hospital contract's under review. I pulled over at the next rest stop, my mind racing. 8 years building this business, and it could crumble in days. I'll be back tonight. Set up meetings for tomorrow. Already did. 9 a.m. sharp. The rest of the drive blurred past. I made calls to each client, but their secretaries gave me the runaround. By the time I reached the coastal city limits, the sun was setting and my jaw ached from clenching it. My house looked the same, but everything felt different. Mrs. Chen was on her porch, and she waved me over the moment I parked. That reporter came by 3 times, she said, handing me a stack of business cards. Kept asking questions about you. I told him to get lost, but he was talking to other neighbors too. I thanked her and went inside, dropping the cards in the trash. My answering machine blinked with 17 messages. I played them while unpacking. 5 from reporters, 3 from clients canceling orders, 2 from my parents, and 7 from numbers I didn't recognize. The next morning came too fast. I dressed in my best shirt and drove to Patterson Construction's office, arriving 15 minutes early. Their receptionist avoided eye contact as she led me to the conference room. Bill Patterson sat at the head of the table, flanked by 2 younger men I didn't recognize. Lawyers, probably. Michael, Bill said, not offering his hand. We need to discuss our contract. I sat down, keeping my expression neutral. I've never missed a delivery in 3 years. It's not about performance. One of the lawyers slid a paper across the table. It's about liability. Your situation poses risks we can't accept. What situation? I was cleared of all wrongdoing. Publicly vindicated. After 8 years, the other lawyer said, during which you operated under false pretenses. False pretenses? I used my middle name. That's not illegal. Bill shifted uncomfortably. Look, Michael, I personally believe you got a raw deal, but my board doesn't see it that way. They see potential lawsuits, negative publicity, client concerns. So 8 years of reliable service means nothing? I'm sorry. Bill stood, signaling the meeting's end. We'll honor the 30-day termination clause, but after that, the Morrison Foods meeting went worse. They terminated immediately, citing a morality clause I hadn't even known existed. By noon, I'd lost 60% of my revenue. I drove to the hospital for my final meeting, but security stopped me at the entrance. Sir, you're on the restricted list, the guard said, checking his tablet. I have a meeting with procurement. Not anymore. He handed me a pre-printed letter. Termination, effective immediately. They'd even calculated the exact amount owed for my last delivery. I sat in my truck in the parking lot, staring at the termination letters. 3 years of building relationships, proving reliability, establishing trust, gone in a morning. My phone buzzed. Jenny, the girls want to see you this weekend, her text read. Saturday afternoon, I started to type a response, then deleted it. How could I face my daughters when I couldn't even keep my business afloat? Another text came through, this time from an unknown number. This is James Morrison from Morrison Foods. Can we talk? Privately? I called him back, curious despite everything. Michael, he said, I'm sorry about this morning. My father's decision, not mine. But I might have a solution. My wife's starting a meal delivery service. Needs reliable logistics. Interested? We met at a coffee shop that afternoon. James was younger than his father, maybe early 30s, with an earnest face and nervous energy. I've been watching your operation for 2 years, he said. You're the only contractor who's never missed a delivery, never had a complaint. That matters more than other things. Your father disagrees. My father's retiring next year. I'll be taking over and I want to work with people I trust. He slid a contract across the table. It's not as big as what you lost, but it's a start. And once I'm in charge at Morrison, I read through the terms. Decent pay, reasonable expectations, and most importantly, no morality clause. When do I start? Monday, if you can. We shook hands, and for the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. One contract wouldn't replace what I'd lost, but it was something. That evening, I called Nathan to update him. He'd been fielding calls all day, trying to reassure our remaining clients. James Morrison, huh? Nathan said. Smart kid. His wife's business is solid too. Might work out better than the old contracts. Maybe. How are the rest holding up? Nervous but stable. I told them you'd be back tomorrow to personally address any concerns. After hanging up, I sat at my kitchen table with a notepad, restructuring the business plan. Fewer contracts meant fewer routes, which meant letting go of the part-time driver I'd hired. It meant going back to 60-hour weeks. It meant starting over, again. My phone rang. My mother. Michael, please don't hang up, she said quickly. We heard about your business troubles. Your father and I, we want to help. I don't need your help. Please. We can't undo the past, but we can try to make the future better. We have savings. Goodbye, Mom. I ended the call and blocked the number. Then I blocked my father's too. Some bridges were better left burned. Saturday came quickly. I met Jenny and the girls at the same park, but this time Alice ran up and hugged me. The gesture caught me off guard, and I stood frozen for a moment before carefully hugging her back. Mom told us everything, she said, pulling away to look at me. About Uncle Henry and what he did. I'm sorry we didn't know you. Sarah approached more slowly, still shy. Are you really going to be around now? If you want me to be. We spent the afternoon at the beach nearby. The girls had 1,000 questions about my house, my work, why I lived so far away. I answered what I could, keeping things age appropriate. Jenny sat on a bench, giving us space but watching carefully. Alice showed me her report card. Straight A's. Sarah talked about her art class, her best friend Emma, her pet hamster that died last month. Normal kid stuff that I'd missed years of. When Sarah grabbed my hand to show me a shell she'd found, something inside me cracked a little. Dad, she said, then caught herself. I mean, is it okay if I call you that? I knelt down to her level. You can call me whatever feels right. Dad, she said again, testing it out. Look, it has a hole in it. Mom says that means it's special. As the sun started setting, Jenny approached. Same time next week, I'll be here. Alice hugged me goodbye, and this time Sarah did too. Watching them leave, I felt the weight of all the missed years and the uncertainty of the ones ahead. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Work during the week, harder now with fewer contracts but manageable. Saturdays with the girls, slowly building something that resembled a relationship. Sundays catching up on paperwork and maintenance. James Morrison's wife's business grew faster than expected. Within a month, I was handling 20 deliveries a day. She recommended me to other small businesses, and slowly, new contracts trickled in. Not enough to match what I'd lost, but enough to keep going. One Thursday, while loading the truck for morning deliveries, a familiar car pulled into my driveway. Kate, Henry's ex-wife, stepped out looking nervous. "I'm sorry to just show up," she said. "I heard about everything, about what Henry did. I kept loading boxes. What do you want, Kate?" To apologize. I knew he was obsessed with Jenny. "I tried to warn you, but not hard enough. I should have done more." "You did what you could." She pulled out an envelope. "The divorce settlement gave me half of everything. I know it doesn't make up for what you lost, but..." She held out the envelope. "It's only fair you get something back." I looked at the envelope but didn't take it. "I don't want Henry's money. It's not his anymore. It's mine, and I'm choosing to give it to you." She said it on the truck's bumper. 30,000. Use it for your daughters, for your business, I don't care. Just let me do this one thing right." She left before I could respond. I stared at the envelope for a long time before putting it in the glove compartment. Blood money, conscience money, whatever it was. I'd decide what to do with it later. The following Saturday, the girls asked if they could see my house. Jenny agreed, following in her car. As I showed them around the small space, pointing out the ocean view and the workshop where I fix things, Alice noticed the box under my bed. "What's that?" I pulled it out, embarrassed. "Just some things I bought over the years. Gifts I couldn't give you." Sarah opened it carefully, pulling out wooden toys I'd carved, books I'd thought they might like, birthday cards never sent. Alice found a silver necklace with her birthstone. "You remembered our birthdays," she said quietly. "Every single one." They insisted on taking everything home, even the toys they'd outgrown. Jenny helped them carry it all to her car, and for a moment our eyes met. Something passed between us. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe understanding. That night, Garrett called with news. The media attention had died down, but several advocacy groups wanted me to speak at their events. "I'm not interested in being anyone's poster child," I told him. "Fair enough, but there's one more thing. A production company wants to buy your story rights. Documentary, maybe a film later. The money could be substantial." "How substantial?" He named a figure that made me sit down. "Enough to expand the business, enough to set aside college funds, enough to never worry about starting over again. I'll think about it." But I already knew my answer. Some stories needed to be told, even if reliving them hurt. The next morning, I found Nathan at the warehouse early, reorganizing inventory. "We need to talk about expansion," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "With what money?" I told him about Kate's envelope, about the production company's offer. His eyes widened. "You could rebuild bigger than before." "That's the plan, but I need a partner this time. Someone I trust." "Interested?" Nathan grinned. "Hell yes." We spent the morning sketching out plans. 2 new trucks within 6 months, 3 more drivers, a proper warehouse instead of the converted garage we'd been using. It felt like hope. My phone buzzed. A text from Alice. "Can we come next weekend too? Sarah wants to learn how to fix things like you do." I smiled, typing back. "Every weekend you want." Another text, this time from Jenny. "Thank you for being patient with them. With us." I didn't respond, but I saved the message. That afternoon, while making deliveries, I passed the courthouse where Henry's trial would take place next month. Part of me wanted to attend, to watch him face justice, but a bigger part just wanted to move forward. At my last stop of the day, the client, an elderly woman who ran a bakery, handed me an extra box. "Heard your story on the news," she said. "Terrible thing, but you kept going. That's what matters." The box held fresh cookies, still warm. Such a small gesture, but it reminded me that not everyone judged by the past. That evening, I sat in my workshop, starting a new project. A dollhouse for Sarah, who'd mentioned wanting one. My hands moved steadily, cutting and sanding, finding peace in the simple act of creation. My phone rang. Dr. McAlexandra, checking in. "How are you processing everything?" she asked. "One day at a time," I said, and meant it. We scheduled an appointment for next week. The work wasn't done just because the truth was out. If anything, rebuilding relationships required more emotional labor than living in isolation had. As I worked on the dollhouse, I thought about the strange turns life took. 8 years ago, I'd lost everything to a lie. Now, the truth had given me a second chance, but not the life I'd lost. This was something entirely new, harder in some ways, but real. The next few days blurred together, meetings with lawyers about the production deal, sessions with the accountant about business expansion, dinner with Nathan to formalize our partnership, life moving forward at a pace that felt both too fast and perfectly timed. Friday night, Jenny called. "The girls want to know if they can spend the night tomorrow, at your place." The request caught me off guard. "Are you comfortable with that?" I wasn't, but they trust you, and I'm learning to trust their judgment. We arranged the details. I'd pick them up at noon, have them back by Sunday evening. After hanging up, I stood in the small second bedroom I used for storage, mentally converting it to a space for the girls. The next morning flew by in preparation. New sheets, clearing space, child-proofing things I hadn't thought about in years. Mrs. Chen saw me carrying in groceries and smiled knowingly. "About time this house had some life in it," she said. When I picked up the girls, they had overnight bags and excited energy. Sarah clutched a stuffed elephant, not her old favorite, but close enough to make my chest tight. The afternoon passed quickly. We worked on the dollhouse together, Sarah painting walls while Alice assembled furniture. They talked non-stop. School drama, friend problems, dreams for the future, normal teenage and preteen chatter that felt like music. That night, after a dinner of homemade pizza, their choice, we sat on the porch watching the sunset. Alice leaned against my shoulder, Sarah curled up with her elephant. "Dad?" Alice said quietly. "Are you happy now?" I thought about the question seriously. "I'm working on it." "Mom cries sometimes," Sarah added. "About what happened. About you." "People make mistakes," I said carefully. "What matters is learning from them." "Did you forgive her?" Alice asked. "I'm working on that too." They seemed satisfied with that answer. We stayed outside until the stars came out, then I tucked them into the guest room I'd hastily prepared. Sarah needed 3 glasses of water and 2 bathroom trips before finally settling down. Standing in the doorway, watching them sleep, I felt a completeness I hadn't experienced in 8 years. Not perfect, not without its challenges, but real. Sunday morning arrived too quickly. Over breakfast, the girls chattered about wanting to come back next weekend. As I drove them home, Alice mentioned that Henry's trial was coming up. "Will you go?" she asked. "I haven't decided. Mom says we don't have to if we don't want to, but maybe seeing him face consequences would help." Wisdom beyond her years. When we arrived at Jenny's house, Jonathan was washing his car in the driveway. He nodded at me, progress from the suspicious looks of weeks past. Jenny met us at the door. How did it go? Ask them, I said, as both girls launched into excited recaps. As I turned to leave, Jenny touched my arm. Thank you for giving them this, for giving us all a chance to make things right. Some things can't be made right, I said gently, but maybe we can make something new. Monday morning, I met with the production company's representatives. They wanted exclusive rights, full access to documents, interviews with everyone involved. The contract was thick with legalese, but Garrett walked me through every clause. You maintain final approval on everything, he assured me. Nothing airs without your consent. I signed, the pen heavy in my hand. Another step forward, another piece of the past transformed into future possibility. That afternoon, Nathan and I toured potential warehouse spaces. The third one felt right. Good location, room for growth, reasonable lease terms. We shook hands with the landlord. Another milestone reached. As we drove back, Nathan asked, any regrets about going public with everything? Ask me in a year. That evening, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize, but local. Mr. Thompson, this is Principal Martinez from Ocean View Middle School. Your daughter Alice gave me your number. There's been an incident. My heart raced as I drove to the school. In the principal's office, Alice sat with a split lip and defiant eyes. Another girl, sporting a black eye, sat across the room with her parents. What happened? The principal sighed. Apparently, Melissa here made some comments about Alice's family situation. About you. Alice took exception. I looked at my daughter, this fierce little warrior who defended me. Violence isn't the answer, Alice. She called you a predator, Alice burst out. Said Mom was smart to leave you, that you probably did do those things. The other parents shifted uncomfortably. The principal cleared his throat. Given the circumstances and the provocation, we're recommending counseling rather than suspension for both girls. After apologies were exchanged and forms signed, I walked Alice to the car. Jenny had arrived, looking frazzled. I'm sorry, Alice said. I just got so angry. I understand anger, I said, but you have to find better ways to handle it. Jenny nodded. We'll talk about appropriate responses at home. As they drove away, I realized this was just the beginning. The truth being public meant my daughters would face questions, taunts, judgment, another weight to carry because of Henry's actions. Tuesday's mail brought a letter from the prison. Henry's handwriting, shaky but recognizable. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. Michael, it read. I know I have no right to contact you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm pleading guilty. No trial. No making you relive it all. It's the least I can do. I'm sorry for everything. Henry. I stared at the letter, feeling nothing. No relief, no anger, just emptiness where my brother used to exist in my heart. I filed it away with the other documents. Evidence of a life destroyed and slowly rebuilt. The week progressed with small victories and challenges. 2 new contracts signed. A difficult conversation with Alice's counselor about helping her process anger. Sarah's first sleepover at my house going smoothly. Nathan securing a loan for the second truck. Friday night, as I updated the business ledgers, I realized I'd turned a profit for the month despite losing the major contracts. Small margins, but moving in the right direction. My phone buzzed. A text from Jenny. Girls want to know if you can come to Alice's school play next month. She's playing Juliet. Wouldn't miss it, I replied. Another text. Jonathan and I are separating. Thought you should hear it from me first. Has nothing to do with you. We've been having problems for a while. I stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Finally settled on, I'm sorry. Let me know if the girls need extra support. Thank you for not making this weird. She texted back. Saturday with the girls felt different knowing about Jenny and Jonathan. They didn't mention it, so neither did I. We spent the day at the beach, building sandcastles and searching for shells. Normal, peaceful, healing. That night, after they'd gone home, I sat on my porch thinking about second chances. Not the kind where everything goes back to how it was. That was impossible. But the kind where you build something new from the wreckage. My neighbor Mrs. Chen joined me bringing tea. You look happier, she observed. The girls are good for you. They're everything, I admitted. And their mother? Is their mother. Nothing more. She nodded approvingly. Smart man. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, but new ones, those are possible. Sunday morning brought news that Henry had officially pled guilty to embezzlement. 5 to 7 years, with possibility of parole in 3. The false accusation charges were harder to prove with Amanda gone, but the confession video would be part of the public record. I felt no satisfaction at the news. Just a quiet closing of one chapter. The production company called that afternoon. They'd started preliminary interviews, wanted to schedule mine for next week. I agreed, though the thought of reliving everything on camera made my stomach turn. As evening approached, I returned to the dollhouse project. It was nearly complete. Tiny furniture in place, miniature family ready to move in. Sarah would love it. My phone rang. An unknown number, but I answered anyway. Is this Michael? A young woman's voice, nervous. Yes, my name is Christina. I was friends with Amanda. She told me what she did to you before she died. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. She was desperate, but that doesn't excuse it. No, I agreed. It doesn't. She left something for you. A letter. I've been trying to work up the courage to call. Could I mail it to you? I gave her my P.O. box address. Another piece of the past to file away. As night fell, I made a list of the week ahead. Business meetings, time with the girls, therapy appointment, production company interview, life moving forward, one scheduled moment at a time. My phone buzzed with a goodnight text from Alice, followed by one from Sarah. 8 years of missed goodnights, but now they were mine again. I locked up the workshop, turned off the lights, and headed inside. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new steps forward. The truth had set nothing free, but it had opened doors I'd thought were forever closed. In my bedroom, I pulled out the box that once held gifts for my daughters. Empty now, but somehow that felt right. The past had been delivered, received, integrated into the present. I lay down, listening to the ocean through my window. Waves crashed in their eternal rhythm, indifferent to human drama, but somehow comforting in their constancy. Tomorrow I'd wake up, load the truck, make deliveries, build my business, see my daughters, continue the slow work of creating a life worth living. For the first time in 8 years, that felt like enough.